Hello, and thank you for checking in on this commentary, a news commentary that I'm making as a legal professional concerning someone who has been entrusted with the highest type of authority in our civil system and who has been found to have breached her professional responsibility. And it's news that my husband shared with me this morning. And it just seems that I need to say something about this. The judge here pictured and I'm going to go ahead and post the link to the Yahoo News article that I'm sharing on screen. This judge was reported by another judge for sending a racist meme. And she's facing some professional disciplinary procedures. I'll talk about that in just a minute. But here's the meme that she sent. And here's what the outrage is about. If you haven't already heard, I'm trying to make it big enough. So the meme is a picture of this black child and a close up of an ankle monitor and this quote unquote joke about my first ankle monitor. And so part of part of why I'm speaking out about this right now is because of where I'm situated in the legal system and to share with you my thoughts, my passions, and my concerns about the American justice system. And you hear it all the time, like to the point where we really kind of get tired of hearing about the American injustice system, especially when it comes to Black people. In the comment box, I'm sharing my application to the St. Thomas University Law Review, their prestigious membership for law students to prove their legal scholarship and write academic papers. And that I'm sharing with you what I wrote back in 2009 as a law student. And the title of this work was Willie Lynch Revisited. And as a law student, I had really come to despise what we now call the prison industrial complex. And everyone talks about it. So this isn't news to us in the Black community. But more importantly, my reason for speaking about this today is to inform those of you who are in my community, those of you who are from the African diaspora. I want you to know and understand that we do not have to participate in the system that is governed by your state government, that is governed by your federal government. We have the power under our own state code to administer justice amongst ourselves. And so this article and this meme of a child is just one other piece of evidence in support of our self-governance. One of the things that I did not know until I began practicing law and I began having these conversations with my colleagues from other communities, I did not know that communities like the Korean community, communities like the Jewish community, they handle their stuff within their community. They take their matters within the community. They go to their elders, they go to their rabbi. I remember the year that I took a case from a Southeast Asian client. And when he presented to me the paperwork for his case, He just needed a lawyer to push it through the court system for a judge to sign. But the religious leader of his community, I don't even know the name of this religion, and I don't even know the exact title of his community. I know that he was a Southeast Asian. Their entire legal matter was already handled inside of the religious community. The only thing was that with his case, a divorce can only be granted by a judge from the state court system. So he needed the formality of a judge's signature. But all of the details about their property, all of the details about their debt, the agreement for them to divorce, everything had already been handled inside of their temple. Why is this important for us? And again, this conversation, I'm speaking specifically to my community because it wasn't until I had been practicing law, I want to say almost 10 years. It had almost been 10 years for me before I took a deep dive into what's called alternative dispute resolution. Now, it was crazy to me because I had not learned about this shadow court system where trillions of dollars move all along around the world outside of the state court system and the federal court system of the United States. Now, crime is a little different, right? But crime is all about money too. Crime is an economic policy of the United States. And that's what I was writing about in my 2009 law review article that's in the description box. It's always been about money. When our people were brought to this country, we were brought over on the balance sheet. We were an economic equation. We were assets in a ledger. And nothing has changed since slavery was abolished, so-called abolished, because the loophole, you already know, many of you already know, the loophole is that, well, if you're convicted of a crime, then you could be a slave. Constitutional slavery has been in continuation and has been thriving and has been the number one source of free labor for state and federal governments. And this picture of a child, when we hear people talking about the school to prison pipeline, they're talking about how much money they're going to be making based on our third grade boys' reading scores, their ability to comprehend when they read. They're calculating the wealth of the nation based off of our ignorance. This is the crime. The crime is that we're being set up to not know, do nothing about it, and be herded along into their pipelines where our men are creating products and for free. I'll never forget the phone call I got. I got a phone call several years ago from one of my friends from church from back in the day. We grew up in church together. And one way or another, he got my phone number. He called me and he was like, yeah, I just got out of prison. Prison? I was like, wait, I didn't know you were in prison. He was like, man, you wouldn't believe this, but all of the furniture that's in the courtrooms, the benches, the benches where the judge sits, the witness stand, where everybody sits inside the courtroom, we were making those things inside of the prison. All of the furniture that they use inside of all of the government buildings, we were making those things when I was in prison. The slave workforce. So when I see this judge, and y'all saw what she looked like, she thought that was funny. She thought that picture was funny. And she accidentally sent it to another judge because she meant to send it to another friend because this was the little inside joke. This is your plan for our kids. Your plan for our kids is for y'all to continue to use them for free labor while our families are continuing to be destroyed. That was funny to her. So she's under a judicial ethics discipline review. And for legal professionals, because of the rules of professionalism and ethics that govern our behavior, how we handle ourselves as professionals, we are subject to peer review of our behavior and our conduct in the public. So she is now being reviewed by other judges so that her public record can be determined whether or not her behavior was unprofessional. And for the time being, she's no longer in her courtroom where she was handling homicide cases and domestic violence cases, but she's been demoted to another court to handle pretrial matters. So she's so-called been reassigned as some type of act of discipline for, something for window dressing to make Black people feel like something's being done about this racist foolishness. I'm talking to my community right now. We have to see the plot. We have to understand the strategy. And we have to position ourselves to take care of our own, because y'all, if you are sitting here waiting for you to vote the right person in, or for you to put pressure on the right person to change the legislation, or if you're sitting here waiting for hate crime laws to be put on the books specifically for us, I'm sorry to tell you, that is not it. That is not how we get justice. That is not going to serve us. Because I'm going to tell you the one thing that everybody knows. If you've ever studied constitutional law and you've ever studied the history of how racism has been handled in the Constitution and in the court system, you can put racism on the books all day long, but you will never be able to change the hearts of people. And the fact that this woman thought that was funny, a depiction of somebody else's child with a toy ankle monitor. This is the only evidence we need to know that we have to stop waiting for everybody else to give us justice. It's not enough for us to sit here and wait for somebody else to see your humanity. It's not. And I took my stance and I documented my stance in 2009 when it comes to this racist behind criminal justice system, because it thrives and it is the belly of the beast, and it eats and feeds on the souls of Black folk. Now, I'm not sitting up here saying that nobody else gets locked up. I'm not sitting here saying that there's nobody else getting in prison, but I'm sorry. The majority of them look like me and look like my community. And at what point are we going to stop waiting for everyone else to do right by us? And when will we begin to do right by ourselves? This is the number one reason. Number one, I did not go into this beast system because it is a system. There is no changing the system. This is the nature of the system, and this is how it works. If we're going to do a good job of protecting our children from this system, it's going to come from us knowing better and us doing better and us equipping our kids. And even then, because of the racist heart of this nation, we still have to be hyper vigilant about our safety and not being taken advantage of by a system that only sees us as dollars on a ledger. The time is now for us to govern ourselves. The time is now for us to learn more about our legal rights. The time is now for us to come up out these people's courts, because these courts are not made for us. These courts do not serve us. and these are not our courts. They are only a place where our people are being run through a meat grinder. I'm just sharing the news with you, and I am praying for our community. I'm praying for us to develop not just the awareness, because we already knew this stuff, y'all. Many of you, like me, who are interfacing with other communities, and we talk about the heartbreak that we have from this kind of injustice, from this type of intangible racism. When we talk to our colleagues and our neighbors that are not in the community, they've become very, very callous to seeing Black folks crying, seeing Black mothers wailing over our sons. And that's not to say that some of our people who are in prison did not commit crimes and should not have been punished. I'm not here to say that criminals should not be handled with criminal process. What I'm speaking against is the systematic racism that is intended to profit from our ignorance. Criminals should be processed like criminals, but they expose the motivation and the system. When someone created this meme of a child with his first ankle monitor, because that's the only plan they have for us and for our children, we need to be infuriated to the point where we do something about it. We need to be infuriated to the point where we educate ourselves and we empower and equip ourselves. We need to be infuriated to the point where we, like the Koreans and like the Jews, we handle our legal business in our house and not out here entrusting our lives, our property, our personal business to a system that does not see and respect our humanity. That's all I have for this rant, because it happens so much that you kind of want to grow numb to it so that it don't keep hurting as much. It's time for this mess to stop. Don't you think so?